So now we're recording. Sorry, girls who are watching the playback, I forgot to hit record. So we're just talking about the tomorrow's Dawn's birthday. So if you guys are watching the recording, go wish her happy birthday tomorrow on the 25th on Monday. Just talking about, if you did not yet see the training that I posted, the Superstar Best Practices training that is in Team Living Healthy and Fit. I think I posted it on Thursday. Go back and watch that because it is a ton of value and it is going to answer so many questions and help give you guidance in content creation, what you should be talking about in stories and in posts, as well as how to take action to build connections and relationships, as well as inviting off of those posts. Okay, so before we dive into talking about our story and breadcrumbing our story through posts and helping you girls kind of layer what that post is going to look like, I want to share with you what our June is looking like, so that way you can start planning what your posts are going to look like. And how you can start planning ahead for what you should be talking about in your posts, what kind of call to actions you're going to be wanting to put in your posts, as well as in your stories. So the first is on a Monday. So that's going to be the day of new coach training. So this whole week, I know that it's kind of back and we're in May a little bit, but this whole week, talking about coaching, talking about what the community has done for you, talking about immersing yourself into this positive community and how it's changed your life, how it's helped you keep on track, how it keeps you coming back to keep pushing for your goals. All of those things are going to be helpful in sharing and showing others why coaching is important to you. How has it changed your life? Okay, and that's how we're going to help others see that they don't have to be super business savvy. They don't have to run these elaborate groups and have it all figured out, that it's just simply joining the community and starting there. So we want to plan ahead. So if the new coach training is starting the first of the month, we want to be inviting them before that, right? So that's the whole purpose of planning out our month and kind of having a plan and knowing what we should be talking about. So this whole week, I strongly encourage you to be talking about coaching. Have a couple coaching call to actions. Sunday, have a coaching last call, talking about how your team is starting this new coach training and how it's going to support them and love them and help them get started on their own health and fitness journey so that they can work towards their personal goals. It's going to connect them with other new coaches who are starting at the same exact place that they are, as well as help them to understand and learn the business, so that if they're looking at it from a financial perspective or business building perspective, they know that they're going to have that love and support and learn how to step through learning how to build their business and build a solid foundation. Okay, so that starts on Monday, the 1st. We will have the June challenge group will start on June 8th. That will be the wellness studio, and we will do a revamp. So right now the girls are kind of pulling what they would like their focus to be in June, because we've been trying to change the theme each month, so that way there's a new focus. It's a fresh, even though it's an ongoing group and it started at the beginning of the year, it's constantly evolving. It's fresh. We're giving a new focus. We're kind of resetting if they've fallen off course. We're reinviting the girls who have fallen off path to dive back in. So that'll be Monday on June 8th. So then we're going to stop talking about, not necessarily stop talking about, but we're going to focus more on inviting to the challenge group all next week, right? Because the challenge group starts on the 8th. So then like Sunday the 7th, you would do like a last call, right? And it's not that they can't join the challenge group after the 8th, because they absolutely can. It's always open, but it's just having that focus and talking about it in the enrollment. Like if you go to my stories tonight, I talked about how enrollment for our June challenge group is now open, and they can go and swipe up, and if it's something that they're interested in, I would love to talk with them. So it's just planning ahead and knowing what we want to be talking about for that upcoming group. Okay. So that will be the June challenge group start date. On Monday, June 22nd through Wednesday, June 24th, we're going to do a 3-day coach sneak peek. So it's going to be a 3-day group similar to the Try and See Coach Like Me group, but Meg revamped it a little bit, and I liked how the content was a little bit more geared towards teaching them the vital behaviors and what we're doing every single day, versus the last group that I ran that was inspired by hers was kind of more coach stories and success stories and how they've changed and why coaching is important to them, along with teaching them a little bit about what we do as coaches daily. But this is a little bit more simplified, and I think that it'll make a bit more sense. So I would love to do a group for that. And again, that's going to be the 22nd through the 24th, because then the new coach training will start the 1st of July. So we want to look at planning ahead. Okay, so that's what we have coming up. That will give you an idea of what you can start talking about throughout your posts. And before I move on, one of the tips that they talked about in that Superstar training was the fact that Beachbody should be 20% of what we're posting. 80% of what we should be posting is lifestyle. Now, obviously, as a coach, Beachbody is very much a part of your lifestyle because you are working out, you are working on nutrition, you are a part of a community, but we don't want our feed to be just sweaty selfies. Really, sweaty selfies aren't going to get a whole lot of attention. Yeah, you might do a flex picture or an inspiring quote along with, or a motivational quote or something like that, along with a workout type picture, but just doing a sweaty selfie with no makeup and your hair not done and all of that is not going to get a lot of attraction. And it's definitely something that you want to kind of avoid. You don't want to have that as your same post every single day because it gets mundane. Yes, you're showing up. Those are the things that you put in your stories because it's everyday life. Our posts want to be more refined, bright lit pictures. If you're like me and you don't do your hair every single day and your makeup isn't always on point and you maybe don't do your makeup to look like super done up, not that you're not beautiful, just that you're not done up, then take several pictures when you do your makeup and your hair. So, and with different backgrounds and a little bit different lighting and maybe changing your top because you're just usually taking a picture that's the top of you, right? You're not always doing a full body picture. But those are some ideas, and then you'll have those pictures to go back to when you're like, crap, all I have is like my story quality pictures instead of like good quality pictures that you want to use for posts. So it's just a thought. Plan ahead a little bit, okay? So that way you have good, well lit, refined pictures to share on your posts. So that takes us to talking about your story and how to create. So we really want to work on storytelling and bringing our followers into our journey, helping them see themselves in us, okay? Because one, it's going to help them relate to us and where we started, but two, it's going to empower them to believe in themselves that they can do it too, and not just say, oh, well, Corey was able to do it, or Dawn was able to do it because she has X, Y, and Z, and it was just easier for her. But if we bring them into our story and take them along the journey, it helps to empower them to understand it wasn't easy for us. It didn't just happen. There were struggles along the way, but we are working every day to overcome those struggles, and that helps them to see and believe that they can too. Because at the end of the day, you guys, and you know this, but at the end of the day, any success and growth in our life comes from here and the belief that we either believe we can or that we can't. And when we believe that we can, we show up and we take the action. When we lack the belief or we doubt ourselves or we feel it's too hard, then we stop showing up. So we have to We have to empower our followers. And to be honest, it's empowering to you too, to write down where you have come from, because there are going to be days, and maybe you feel like this right now, that I haven't done enough. I'm not where I thought I would be by now. I'm not at my goals. But when you start telling your story, you start to remember just how far you've come. And it's okay that you're not where you thought you would be by now. It just means you're still working through and growing past a hurdle that you're not ready to move forward from, or you haven't grown enough to overcome that particular thing. So it's good for us too to remind ourselves just how far we've come, to empower ourselves to keep growing and to keep stepping outside of our comfort zone. So the first part, we're going to break our story into 4 pieces, okay? That doesn't mean that every single post that you talk about should be a book, because we need to have variation, right? It's very easy to get this, you start like writing and you're like, oh my God, that is so long. There are definitely good posts that if you are just in and you're feeling vulnerable and you're sharing and you're being open, that it is okay for them to be longer, vulnerable posts, because that is going to speak to someone on a whole new level, okay? But there are also times that we need to try and keep our posts a bit shorter and kind of more to the point, because think about when you read a post, do you always click on the ones that are like you're scanning? So the second part of that is for your longer posts. This is just a tip I'm throwing in there. Break them up. You want it to be like a couple sentences, start a new paragraph and have a space in there, another couple sentences, then maybe one line, and then maybe a couple more sentences. You want to really break it up so the people who are wanting to read your content, but maybe aren't totally invested yet, and they're just going to scan it, it will be very easy for them to pull the words and see, and then probably read your entire post. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind as well. So the first part of your story or your post is, who were you before Beachbody? What are some of the challenges that you faced? How did you feel? But on top of the challenges that you faced and how you felt, who were you before Beachbody? We as coaches, and I am very guilty of this from time to time, we have to remember that we are not just Beachbody. Remember, I said a good balance is 80-20. 80% lifestyle, and yes, Beachbody is a part of your lifestyle, but it's not just talking about the workouts, and it's not just talking about your transformation, right? So it's who you were, or who you as a person were. Okay, so don't forget that. Those are very valuable posts as well. Who were you before? So the first part of our story or our post should always be who we were before. The second part is, why did you start this journey? What did or do you want to achieve and feel? So are you wanting to move away from the feelings that you were having before, or the challenges that you were facing before, or maybe a habit that you had before? But we need to touch on that. We need to talk about, why are we doing these workouts? Why are we following a guided nutrition plan? Okay? What do we want to feel? How do we want to feel? And just a little tip, when you share how you want to feel, a good single line underneath that to break it up, have you ever wanted to feel like that? Wouldn't it feel so good to feel like that? Help bring them into the story and relate to wanting to have more energy to be more active with your kids, wanting to have more patience when things are stressful and life is frustrating, wanting to be able to teach your kids how to live a healthier lifestyle. All of those things, what are we working towards? What's the ultimate goal? Okay. So that's number 2, is why did you start this journey? What did or do you want to achieve and feel? because sometimes we're talking about a goal we've already accomplished. So you can talk about that. You can go back and talk about things that you've already accomplished, and you can talk about new goals from time to time. We have to split them up, right? Because we're talking about breadcrumbing, which is just little pieces of our story along the way, instead of just giving the entire thing all in one post, okay? Number 3 is, what steps are you taking to achieve that? So this is where we bridge the gap, because it's super easy to say, I wanted to lose weight, I felt like crap, I really just wanted to have more energy to be able to run around and play with my kids. I wanted to feel more confident in my bathing suit. I wanted to feel good with my husband. I wanted to feel beautiful when I looked in the mirror, and here I am now. Okay, but what happened along the way, because we all know that the quick fixes don't work, and it makes it look, have you ever been, and we're all guilty of this, but scrolling social media and it just seems like the person's success happened overnight. That's why it doesn't happen overnight. We have to bridge that gap and help them see, these are the steps that I'm taking to work towards what you shared you want to feel. Okay, so this is where you might talk about the guided nutrition that you're following, and the new foods that you're starting to eat, and how you feel when you're eating those new foods, or the new workout that you're following, and how much time does it take a day, and how do you feel after you do the workout. Just a reminder, not using brand names. Beachbody does not need any help branding itself. They spend millions of dollars and do a really, really good job all on their own, okay? Brand you. You are the difference, okay? Because we are all selling the same exact product. You don't have anything different than what I have, and I don't have anything different than what you have. What makes us different and people connecting to us as their coach is us, our story, our authenticity, how we show up. Okay, so those are the things that set us apart. So talk about, what are the steps that you're taking? Maybe you're talking about personal development and how you're building belief within yourself. Okay, maybe you're talking about nutrition and how it's giving you more energy and you have less stomach pains, or maybe your cycles are better because you're eating less sugar and more whole foods, or maybe you're starting to see some changes in your waist or in your weight because of the nutrition. It's talking about the steps that you're taking each day. And it doesn't just have to be the workouts or the nutrition. There's so much about the community and the challenge groups, the support that we have, and the mindset side of things. There's so many aspects to what we do that I don't ever want you to feel like your story is not good enough, or that it's the same thing, or you lead this boring life, or you don't have enough of a transformation yet to be an impact, because that's just BS. That's just the doubt talking in your head, okay? There is someone out there who is right where you are right now, or who is right where you used to be and is dying to be where you are right now, who is fighting some sort of a challenge or a hurdle and is just desperate to feel that 1% of belief, or that they can change their story. That's where you have the power. In fact, as you're in the newer part of your journey, or as a newer coach, sometimes it's almost easier to connect with people, to help them see that it's possible because you're doing it, than it is than if you're like at Meg's level or Brittany's level, because it seems so far-fetched because they've been working at it for 8 to 10 years. Yeah. So just remember that your message is incredibly powerful. And it is at every stage of the game, as long as you believe that it is and you are sharing it and you stay authentic to you. Okay. So what are the steps? Pick one and share on that one topic. I don't recommend trying to share all of them in one, unless you're doing like a really heartfelt transformation post and you just like touch on each one just a tiny little bit. But that's going to, if you start talking about all of it, it's going to get really lengthy. But it'll also help breadcrumb. If you talk about one day, you talk about the community, and then maybe the next post you talk about the nutrition, then the next post you talk about the fitness side of things, and you just kind of breadcrumb a little bit each day. And then at the end is when you have your call to action, right? Because you're talking about the steps you're taking each day, what's changing, and then you're inviting them to join you. So then number 4, so the last part of our story or our post is going to be talking about who are you now? What has changed? How do you feel? Why do you keep going? How do you keep going? How many of you get that question? Like, that is one of the number 1 questions. How do you stay motivated? Well, first of all, it's not motivation. Let me just be real clear about that. It is discipline. You might be motivated to feel better, but I promise you, when that alarm goes off at 4:50, it is not motivation to get my butt out of the bed. It is discipline to get up out of bed and go do the workout. And I talk about that. I talk about that a lot. It's not easy. And I don't just bounce out of bed. I'm usually like sloughing out of the thing. And that's relatable, because how many people do you know at 4:50 or 5 o'clock or even 6 o'clock for some people just bounce out of the bed? It's something that takes practice. And I will say it is so much easier having the virtual gym and knowing that the girls are going to be on and I have to get my butt up. There is no choice, than it was before we started that. Because there would be days that I was very disciplined and I would get up and do it. And then there were days I'm like, yeah, we're not doing anything after school today. I'm just going to do it later, right? So it's talking about that part of your story. I have become disciplined. I was not that person when I started this journey. So talk about those things. How have you evolved? How have you started to make those habit changes in your life? How was it doable? And talk about the fact that it's not perfect, because it's not. And I know mine is not. But that allows us to be relatable too, right? The fact that, yes, we screwed up with nutrition, or we had ice cream, or we had pizza, or we went all in on all the junk this weekend, but we're going to show up again. And we're going to hit the reset button and we're going to show up for ourselves. And we know that it was just a bad day, or we overindulged a little bit, and we're moving on. We have to show that part of it too, to show people, because they're going to slip up too, that it's okay, that we're all human, and that we can still move forward from that. Okay. So tip number 1 for breadcrumbing your story is, who were you before Beachbody? What challenges did you face? How were you feeling? But also who you were as a person. Okay. And not forgetting that you are more than just Beachbody. Number 2 is, why did you start this journey? What did or do you want to feel? What do you want to achieve? Number 3 is, what steps are you taking to achieve those goals? And number 4 is, who are you now? How do you feel? And why do you keep going? So remember, we want to bridge the gap to help them see themselves in our story, to help them relate and know that we're human too, and bridging the gap between how we got from point A to point B, and not just skipping from A to B, giving the details and how we're working towards our goals. Okay. And then just helping them relate by sharing how you feel. So you may see, like in my post, sometimes I will share about a negative feeling or how I felt. And then I might say, have you ever felt like that? Or I might say, it's kind of a crummy feeling. And then write, like comma, and then put right, question mark, because it makes them think, yeah, that is a crummy feeling, or I have felt that too. And then you have that connection when you start to have that conversation. So just helping to bridge that gap and bringing them into your story so that they can relate to it and see that and that possibility in their life too, right? So we can help empower them to know that they can make their changes too. Okay. So that is all I have for tonight. Do you have any questions, my dear? No? We're gonna take a picture. All right, girlfriend, you have an amazing